Have you ever noticed a strange pattern in your life? You meet people, and somehow they let you down. You trust someone, and somehow everything falls apart. You give your best effort, and somehow the opportunity slips through your hands. At first you tell yourself it's just coincidence, bad timing, bad luck, the wrong people. But after it happens again, and again, and again, a quiet question begins to follow you everywhere. Why does this keep happening to me? Is the world simply unfair? Or is there something deeper going on beneath the surface? Because what if these moments aren't random at all? What if there's an invisible pattern shaping your choices, your relationships, and the situations you keep finding yourself in? A pattern created long before you even realized it existed. And here's the powerful part. The moment you finally see that pattern clearly is the moment you stop being controlled by it, and the moment your life can begin to change. Most people believe their life is shaped by circumstances, bad relationships, difficult bosses, toxic friends, unlucky timing. And when things keep going wrong, it's easy to blame the outside world. But psychology reveals something far more unsettling. We don't just experience patterns in life. We unconsciously recreate them. Your brain is constantly scanning the world for what feels familiar, not what is healthy, not what is peaceful, but what feels known, even if that known once caused you pain. Because to your nervous system, familiar feels safe, even when it isn't. That's why someone who grew up around constant criticism may unknowingly surround themselves with critical people. Why someone who felt invisible as a child might end up with partners who never truly see them. And why certain struggles seem to follow the same person year after year. Not because they deserve it, but because their mind has quietly learned what feels normal and keeps returning to it. This may sound strange at first, but the human brain often prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar peace. Pause and really think about that. If chaos surrounded you growing up, arguments, tension, unpredictability, your mind may have learned to see that chaos as normal. So when life finally becomes calm, something inside you feels uneasy, almost like something is missing. If you spent years trying to prove your worth, working harder, pleasing others, seeking approval, you might unknowingly step into environments where validation is always just out of reach, where you must constantly prove yourself again, and when something healthy finally enters your life, a peaceful relationship, a supportive opportunity, a calm environment, your mind might begin to question it, doubt it, even push it away, not because you want to lose it, but because your nervous system quietly whispers, "This isn't what we're used to." So the brain gently steers you back toward what it understands, even when that familiarity hurts you. Every child grows up learning a role, often without realizing it. In every family, there are silent expectations that shape who you become. Maybe you were the responsible one, the child who had to grow up too fast. Maybe you became the peacemaker, always trying to keep everyone calm. Maybe you learned to stay quiet and invisible to avoid conflict. Or perhaps you became the achiever, believing your value depended on success. For many, the role becomes the emotional caretaker, the one who listens, supports, and carries everyone else's problems. At the time, these roles weren't choices. They were survival strategies. They helped you adapt to the environment around you. But the real problem begins later, because most people never stop playing those roles. They carry them into friendships, careers, and relationships. The peacemaker tolerates disrespect. The achiever feels empty without constant success. The caretaker gives endlessly but rarely receives. And after years of repeating this pattern, it starts to feel like destiny. But it isn't destiny, it's conditioning your mind quietly learned long ago. Have you ever stopped and asked yourself why the same kind of people keep showing up in your life? Different faces, different situations, but somehow the same story. The manipulative person, the emotionally distant partner, the friend who only appears when they need something. At first it feels like terrible luck, but often it's something deeper. Human beings are surprisingly skilled at sensing emotional patterns in others. They can pick up on who avoids confrontation, who constantly tries to keep everyone happy, who feels uncomfortable saying no. And without realizing it, certain people are drawn to those signals, not in a calculated way, but instinctively. Because every relationship is built on invisible boundaries, and if you were taught early in life that love requires sacrifice, giving more, fixing more, tolerating more, you may unknowingly offer more of yourself than you should. And unfortunately, there will always be people ready to take advantage of that generosity. There's a belief many people carry deep inside without even realizing it. A belief that quietly shapes their choices, relationships, and the way they see themselves. The belief that their worth must be earned. If you grew up in an environment where love felt conditional, where approval came only after success, obedience, or sacrifice, you may have learned that being yourself wasn't enough. So you started proving your value by helping everyone, by working harder than anyone else, by always being the good one who never causes problems. At first it seems admirable, responsible, reliable, selfless. But over time, this belief becomes exhausting, because when you feel like you must constantly earn your worth, you give people permission to treat it like something negotiable. And here's the difficult truth. Healthy people respect clear boundaries, but unhealthy people will always test them. And if you spent years avoiding conflict or keeping others comfortable, those boundaries may have never been clearly drawn in the first place. The moment your life truly begins to change isn't when other people change. It's when you finally see the pattern within yourself. Most people spend years trying to fix the outside world. Different friends, different partners, different jobs, hoping the next situation will finally be different. But the real shift begins when you pause and look inward, when you start noticing the quiet script running in your mind. Ask yourself honestly, what situations keep repeating in my life? What kind of people do I keep attracting? Where do I feel responsible for solving problems that were never mine to carry? These questions are powerful because patterns survive in silence. They grow stronger when we don't recognize them. But the moment you see them clearly, something begins to change. Their grip starts to weaken, because awareness creates a new possibility. It gives you the power to pause, choose differently, and respond in a new way. And that single moment of awareness can slowly transform the entire direction of your life. Recognizing the pattern in your life is powerful, but it's not the hardest part. The real challenge begins after that, because awareness alone doesn't change your life. Your response does. And changing how you respond can feel incredibly uncomfortable at first. If you're used to pleasing everyone, learning to say no may feel like you're letting people down. If you're someone who constantly explains yourself, Choosing silence may feel strange and unfamiliar. If you've always been the one rescuing others, stepping back can make you feel guilty, even selfish. But that discomfort isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's actually a sign that something inside you is shifting. Your old habits, your old emotional programming, are slowly losing their grip. Growth rarely feels natural in the beginning. It feels awkward, uncertain, even a little scary, because you're stepping outside a script your mind learned years ago and writing a completely new one for your life. Here's a truth many people go their entire lives without hearing. The patterns in your life are not permanent. They may feel permanent because they've been repeating for years, but they are not part of your destiny. They are learned behaviors, learned ways of thinking, learned emotional reactions, and anything that is learned can also be unlearned. You are not doomed to repeat the same painful relationships. You are not required to keep experiencing the same disappointments. And you are not trapped in the same emotional cycles forever. Those patterns only continue when they operate quietly in the background of your life. But the moment you become aware of them, truly aware, something powerful happens. You pause, you notice the old reaction, and you choose something different. That single shift may seem small, but it changes everything. Because every time you respond differently, you begin to rewrite the direction of your life and create a future that no longer follows the same old script. So, if you've ever caught yourself asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" Pause for a moment. Maybe it isn't bad luck. Maybe it isn't fate. And maybe it's not karma either. Sometimes the real answer is much simpler and much deeper. It's a pattern you were never taught to recognize. But the moment you see it clearly, everything begins to change. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. If this message helped you recognize something in your own life, comment, "I see the pattern" below. And subscribe for more psychology insights that help you understand yourself and your life on a deeper level. Because sometimes the moment you finally understand the pattern is the moment it loses its power over you.